Good morning, Time Stoners. Thanks for joining us in what will be our, as I mentioned, our last webinar in the series on 410. I think that makes it 6 in total. Then we'll put 410 to bed, apart from fixing bugs if they come up, and we'll run with that for a while the team moves on to 411 and some new stuff that we've got planned in there. So today, yep, it's the last webinar on 410. It's the least visual too. We're going to look at some new things to do with data and text file imports. As normal in the last couple of webinars, we'll do questions at the end. This will be a much quicker and easier webinar than the last couple. I think if we go over 30 minutes, that will be surprising, but I've said that before. Okay, let's get moving. I'll get myself organized. Let's go to Neopak, some new things. Actually, I'll be in Neopak the whole time. Now, I don't know if I've shown you this before, but one thing that's new in Neopak in 410, we go to the queue. You know you can print order headers in Neopak. Yes, that's been there for a while. I think that came in 4.9, maybe even 4.8. But what's new in 410 now, when you print headers in Neopak, you have the option just to print the headers or print the orders with no headers. They were two options that were available in Fulfill, but not in Neopak. You either printed the headers with the packages, with the products, or not at all. But now you've got the option to print the headers only if you so desire, which is actually quite a common thing to do. So I think I may have already mentioned this in previous meetings, but anyway, I'll tell you again, there's no harm in that. So that's a new thing there. Let's go back to details mode. The menu at the top, you'll see subject file, edit subjects. There's two new ones in there, families and folders. So the subjects one is where you import text file, export text file, create from matched, we saw that last week, populate field and change field case. You've now got that more or less for families and folders. You don't have the import text file for families and folders, but you've got the rest. So you can export a text file of the families. It's the family fields, and you can do the family name, for example, export a text file. You've probably done this a million times, perhaps with subjects. It's very similar. You can export a text file for families, and same way, export a text file with the folders. Go to setup and choose what you want. The name, which would be the name of the folder, whereas when you're exporting a text file for subjects, it'd be the name of the subject. It'd be the name of the folder or the folder and any folder fields you've got. I happen to have two, teacher and folder field 1. So again, choose your fields there, export the text file. Options around here are pretty much the same. So a couple of new things there. Exporting text file, you can now do that for your families, and you can do that for your folders. In a similar way, or along that theme, for families and folders, you've got change field case. So you can change the folder case for the folder itself, the name, or any of your folder fields. And you can make it all uppercase or lowercase, or the name case where only the first letter is uppercase. So again, this was something that was available previously only for subjects. It's now available for folders. It's now also available for families, changing the case of your family names. And possibly the more popular one will be populate field, especially populate field for folders. For example, let me just go to folders so we can see what we got there. Folders. Okay. You can folders, populate field, and folder field 1. Choose what field you want to populate, maybe a tag, who knows, and put in some value. The options in here are pretty much the same. And if you're familiar with populate field for subjects, which you should be, you can do the same for folders, except I didn't do something right there. Let me try something else. I'll populate field. We will go populate teacher. We'll just put in, I don't know, some fixed text for now, just to make sure it's working. And there, so we've populated the teacher field. So populate field that we've been able to only do for subjects, we can now do for families, we can now do for folders. It's pretty self-explanatory. I won't do, you could do something similar for families, but you get the idea. You get the idea. I did want to just do something with subjects though. Let me go to subjects. Subjects, populate field. Because this fixed text one, again, it came up that someone didn't know in here. They thought you could only put in fixed text like that. This does support @code, so you can get variable data in there. And for example, I'll use this as an example. The grade field is empty at the moment. I'd like to populate that with the folder name for each particular subject. So in fixed text, I just go @folder, and for each subject, it grabs their folder name and will populate the grade field, populate grade with @folder. This is for subjects. Principle applies for families and folders now. But I just wanted to emphasize that in this fixed text, you can get variable data in there, even though it says fixed text, by putting in @codes. Yep, and so now we've populated the subject field with the folder data. Let me check. I think that was about it for that first part of it. And yep, pretty straightforward. I think no hidden traps there. And you'll make use of it though. I think they're very useful things to have in your Armory. Okay, so that's that part. We'll go to the second part of what I need to show you, which is also going to be the last part. It will take a little bit more time, but it's the main thrust of this webinar. I'm going to start a new job, and I'm going to do it in the schools account, and I'll just call it schools 1. Okay, and that brought me up an empty job with certain fields. First name, last name, email, grade, homeroom, year level, teacher. Those fields all came from TSAdmin, which I had defined in TSAdmin as default fields. Okay, we have a new way of importing text files. We have a new way of importing text files. You've still got the old way. So I'll show you the new way, and if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. You can still use subjects import text file, but I think this new way is far superior. From the file menu, there's also import text file. Why is it in the file menu and not subjects? Because as you're about to see, you can now, with the text file, also import family data and folder data into family fields and folder fields. So rather than repeat this in all of those menu items up the top, subject, families, folder, it was easier, or it makes more sense to have it at the file level. And it's import text file, Control-T. Control-T becomes your friend. And you browse to your folders, to your text file. I'm going to select that one. Now notice there's no setup button. In the old subjects import text file, you'd sort of select but not double click your CSV first, and then there was a setup button on the left bottom corner where you would map your fields, get into the setup window to map your fields. You don't do that anymore. Just select your file and hit open, and you're you're presented with a new import file details setup window, which looks rather different. And possibly the first thing you will notice is that you get to see the data before you import it. So you don't need to have the text file open in another window or next to it, so you can go back and forth to see what you need to map. You get a preview of the data there and right here and now. It's not editable. You can't come in here and change Sophia's name to Sophie, but you see what the data is, which of course makes mapping so much easier. And I think even if we quit here, even if we ended the webinar here and I just told you could preview the data, that's already a major improvement in this window. And yeah, I find just having that data there invaluable, and I think you will too. We still need to map the fields. You still need to map the fields, but you'll need to map it only the first time. And then there's some AI, we'll call it AI, it's not really. It will remember the mapping for all your different CSV structures and types, and you won't have to do them again, which is also really, really nice. Now, because this is the first time I am importing this structure of field, this field type, where I've got those fields, last name, first name, ID, home room, teacher and grade. So I've got those 6 fields in that order with those headers. The first time I've imported such a CSV, I'd need to do the mapping. You do the mapping like this, where we're starting with a simple text file. Last name, well, what sort of data is it? It's subject data. And what field's it going to? It's going to the subject field, last name. First name, it's subject data, and it's going to the field first name. This is akin to, let me, I won't quit. I was going to quit and show you the old setup, but this is akin to what you did in the setup window in the old method, where you would put in a number. You'd put in number 1 field for last name, number 2 for first name. You don't have to do that numbering anymore. You just go through and visually map the fields. ID, the ID is the unique field. So you need to check that box. This is the column that uniquely identifies the subject. You did that elsewhere in the old method. So you're telling it now that that's the unique field. You're still going to import it, and you're going to import it in a field called ID. The homeroom, we will map that to homeroom. Teacher is what we want in this example, we're going to use that to make folders. So that's folder data. So I'm now ticking folder data. The icon up there next to teacher goes yellow and gives you a little folder icon. So it all maps very nicely. It's the column that uniquely identifies the folder. So Joanne Burke will be one folder, and we're not going to get lots of them. We're going to get one. And it's the folder name. And then grade. Grades back to subject data. Great. Okay. Now I've taken my time over this. You'll end up doing these a lot quicker. And as I said, you'll only need to do it once. The other stuff down here we'll come to, but if we were importing, these were just in different places in the old window. If you're importing dates, what format is the date in? And these options down the bottom only apply if you're importing text files on top of existing data. This is new job, new import, so these options down the bottom don't apply. So nothing's changed with respect to these options down the bottom, they're just in a different place. Let's import that. Okay, and it did what we expected it to do. It's imported the stuff in the right place. Now I'll address straight away a concern people have, or a pushback that people had with this, is that when we, let me go Control T, and I'll just choose it again. People have often wanted, for example, the teacher or the field that we're using to create the folder also as a subject field. I'm not sure why, because you can get to the same information with the @folder code, but mine is not to question why. You can't, with this new system, map a field to more than one place. So the teacher, we've mapped it as folder data and we're using it to create a folder name. We can't at the same time say it's subject data and import it into the teacher subject field. Okay, we can only import a particular column into a particular field, or if you want to call it the other way around, a particular field into a particular column. So we can't bring the teacher, we can't use the teacher to make the folder names and at the same time populate a teacher subject field, for example. So how do you get around that? There's a couple of ways. you could do it. You could massage your data to begin with and duplicate this column in Excel and use one of them to create the folders and the other one map it to the teacher subject field. Yeah, I don't particularly like that. You could import the file again. I could and use one of these, replace only if blank, for example, and this time map it to subjects, to the subject field. So I could do that. This will work. I won't do it because I want to show you the third way. So if I did this, imported this file again, this teacher field would now get mapped to the teacher subject field. Could do that. That's valid. For me, just as easy to do what I showed you before. We go subjects, populate field, populate the teacher field with @folder. And we've got that same information there if you needed to. So I wanted to address this straight away. It was probably going to be a question at the end, so I've jumped the gun here. So rule to understand, when you're mapping a field, you can only map it to one field. You can only map one column of data to one field in our software. Here's a way to get around that if it is an obstacle for you. Okay, I will move on, and we're going to import some other field types and show you some of the other features that come along. So I might just get rid of all this and go to subjects, get rid of all that. And we'll leave that job there. We will start a new job, and I'm going to do it in the sports account, and I'll call it Sport 1. For these jobs, you see I'm getting different fields. Team, uniform, age. I'm getting fields that are relevant to my sports jobs as opposed to my school jobs. Control T is your friend. Let's go import Sport 1. Now, this is the first time I'm importing this type of text file. This is the first time I'm importing a text file that has got the headers, those headers in that order. Therefore, I have to map them, okay? And we will do that again, just for practice as much as anything else. The ID field is the one that uniquely identifies the field. It's the unique field. We need to check that box, and we're going to bring it into ID. And I'll just go through and do the others, and you get the feel of what you need to do. And last name and the league. Do we have a league field? No. So here's something new that we will address straight away. I have a field called league. It is, because I've got a preview of the data, the same for each subject. I want to import that in. I don't have a field called league. I don't have a subject field called league. I could add it on the fly. So in my drop down, I don't have a subject field called league. I could just add it like that. I get a little plus symbol to say that I'm adding a field called league and a subject field called league, and that information will go into that field. I could have, jumping a gun a little bit, instead I may prefer, because it's the same for everybody, to add it as a job field. I don't have that job field. Again, I could have added it. But let's keep it as subject data for this example. So league is going into a league field, a subject field called league, which I don't have, but it's going to make it. The team is folder data. It uniquely identifies the folder. So there's only going to be one folder called under 16 red. There's only going to be one under 18 black. And it's the folder name. Uniform is subject data, and so forth. I'll do these other ones quickly. Position, height, and weight. Too many. We'll stop it there anyway. We won't do the images for now. Subject data is not height, is weight, beg your pardon. Okay. Hit OK. All right, so we've created the folders, and notably, we've created on the fly a field called league. We could have named that field anything we liked, but it created on the fly and it put the data in there. That is very handy. It means you don't have to exit what you're doing to go manually make a field to add it to this job. And that's important to realize. We've added it just to this job. If I go edit fields, we now have a field called league. For this job, we didn't have it before. So that's useful, adding fields on the fly as you're importing the data. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the other job, which is empty. And Control T is your friend. That brings up that window. School, I'm going to import data for another school. Now, see what's happened. Now, this is new data. This is a different job. Have a look. The IDs are different. The teachers are different. It's remembered the mapping. Okay, even though the one I just imported was schools, it's remembered. It looked at the structure of this text file, last name, first name, ID, those 6 fields. It looked at them, saw the headers, their names, saw the order that they're in, and said, aha, I know this one. I've imported it before. I'll pre-map the fields for you so you don't have to do it again. You can just throw your eye over it, hit OK, and it's done. That's a big, big difference. And it's something that people have always sort of complained about, is that when they've gone from different text files, they've had to redo the mapping each time. You don't need to do that anymore, provided it's a text file in a format. When I talk format, I'm talking about the headers are in the same order, an order that you've used before. And I think it remembers about 16 different ones. So therein lies a workflow challenge for you, perhaps, to consolidate your text files into a structure, into structures that you repeat often. So you can make use of this. Yeah, and so we've imported a completely different set of data, new set of data, and we didn't have to remap the fields. It remembered the mapping for this text file type. Okay, I'm going to move along to the next example. Okay, actually I'll stay in this one, and Control T, I'm going to import more data into this job. Okay. Now again, see, it's not remembered the mapping here. Why? Because this text file is different. This text file has got 3 extra fields at the end. So it's not the same structure as the one before. This is why I think it'd be useful for you to start thinking, how can I standardize my text files as much as possible? So rather than having 20 or 30, a different one each time, to maybe massage them in Excel when you get them, because you're probably going to get them from the school in all sorts of formats, so that they're the same structure. And then it saves you doing the mapping. And then you can have a structure for your schools and a structure for your sports and a structure for your Holy Communions or whatever else you photograph. Okay, so let's go through and look at this file. Last name, first name, unique field. Just as in the old method, remember, one of the first things you need to have in your possession is an idea of what field is your unique field. It's usually something called ID, and you usually map it to your ID field. The homeroom, the teacher will use for folders is the folder. It uniquely identifies the folder and is the folder name, and grade is a subject field. Now, again, we jumped the gun a little bit before, because this is the example of a preferred name. We don't have that field, but we can add it. And I can overwrite that. I mean, it's picked up the column header and put it there, but if I could, I can change it there on the fly or add something completely different. Salutation, subject data, I'm adding it on the fly, a role, subject data, and I'm adding it on the fly. Okay, so let's import that. And now we need to, because we're importing into a job that's already got data, these options down the bottom become more relevant. For elements that already have data, we keep the existing, we replace it, replace only if blank, update with non-blank. That will be up to you. You've got this second file from the school. Perhaps they've given you an updated file that has got the preferred name, salutation, and role. What do you want to do with the data you already imported? Is it likely that it's changed in this text file? So do we want to update it? Or do we want to replace everything? You often don't want to replace because you may have made manual changes. Do we just want to keep the existing? Do we want to replace only with blank? That's going to be up to you, depending on how different this second text file is from the first one you've imported and what work you've done in the data in between times. Hit OK. All right, and we go to here, and you can see I misspelled preferred, of course, but that extra information came in, and the salutations came in, and the roles came in. I actually did stuff something up in that selection, so which is why we've re-imported some data, but you'll forgive me on that one. Okay, so that was just another example of making fields on the fly. All right, and we can also import families, which you could not do before. So this is brand new. It is that text file. You've now, same job, you've now got family information. Perhaps you've got it from a website, from our website, from a report. Who knows? I don't know. But let's import this information to create families. So this is now family data. Okay, it's the family name. Is it one per family? If so, it's unique. Yep. Okay. And we've got a family field, which is a reader-friendly version of the family name. So it's just basically the last name without all the extra information. So that's now a family field. Okay, so we don't have a family field called family name, so we're going to add it. The drop down here was nothing. It's telling me I don't have family field, so I'm going to add one. And we hit OK. So we've imported families via text file, and I should have also imported information into that family name family field. Okay, so something new, something you've not been able to do with the old import text file method is import family data. In the same vein, you can import, I'm just reading my notes here. Oh, okay. We'll do one more. File, import text file, and extra folders. Okay. So this is, again, you've now, for the same job, got another text file which has their miscellaneous groups. So these are the same kids, the same ID, but now we've got not just, before we had their home folders, their home folders, their home room, whatever we created the yellow folders with. Now we've got the extra folders. We've got the extra folders for them. So last name, we map this field. This is the first time we've imported this text file. We're going to need to map it. It will remember it next time. Last name, first name, the ID is the important one. Well, they're all important, I guess, but ID. And Okay, so this is folder data, but it's not their home folder. It is unique. We only want one extra folder called Football Girls, but it's the extra folder. And so it's that option. So it's not the folder name. That could possibly say home folder name, but it's an extra folder. Those two things are exclusive. Let's import that. Yep, and you see we've created those extra folders. And if I go into here, as I click into them, you can see the subjects at the same time have been copied into them. The little plus symbol is showing the home folder that they came from. So the kids in the Australian cricket, victorious Australian cricket team have been copied over from the home folder and all in one step. So we created those extra folders and imported the kids or copied the kids into them in the one step. I'll just show you one more, and then I think we're pretty much done. You'll get the idea. This is very much one thing that you're going to want to get hold of and start playing with and practice with. And it becomes very second nature, and you wonder how the heck you ever used the old method. File, import text file. You can also import into job fields. Okay, so this is all job information. There's only one line of data. For me, it's probably just as easy to type it in, but sure, if you've got it as a text file, why not bring it in? Okay, so school name goes to a job field called school name, the year, subject data, not subject data, job data, and it's the year, in the year 25-25. Principal, job data, we don't have that, so we're going to add it. Look, let me just cancel that just to prove that I don't have those fields yet. See the job fields that I've got by clicking all, see the job fields, we've only got year and school name, okay? Just to show you that there's no trickery involved. Go back to here. So that was job data, and it was the school name, job data. Principal, I don't have, I'm going to add it. The assistant, don't have, I'm going to add it. School logo, I don't have, I'm going to add it. The photo date, so that's job data, I don't have that field, so this is the date things being photographed. Here is where you may want to consider what put into format. For me, it is day, month, year, but of course you would, depending on where you are, put in month, day, year, which is more common in the US. You may even have it in year, month, day. And the pre-order cutoff date is, again, job data, which of a field I don't have, and it's day, month, year. And I think we're ready to import that. And you can see it did it. It imported stuff into the job fields. And had we had tags information, we could have done that. So I went through, and I'll do one more because I can already see someone asking about importing images. Yeah, we still support all that, but I won't go through every single one again. So Control T, I've got maybe this text file. Okay, first name, last name, you can see I've got image information. So let me just quickly do this. And just remember, I know it seems like I'm doing a bit of work here mapping them. It remembers it. The next time I get a text file in this format, I won't have to do this again. And that's the ID, it's unique. Homeroom is that one. I'm just going to ignore the other ones. If you don't map them, you could just ignore. So by default, they're ignored. See the option at the end, ignored. I'm going to jump to that. Actually, homeroom, we'll make that folder though. Folder in this case. And the image. Okay, so now what sort of information is this column? This is actual image data, and it's the image file name. Okay, the pose, self-explanatory, it's image data, it's the pose. The primary image has a number 1 against it. We will say that's the primary image. And some of these have got backgrounds already ordered or set, so we can map the background as well. So we've mapped most of those fields. I didn't do teacher and grade, and I will import that. And something, oh, there it goes. It actually gives you better feedback now. It actually says what it's doing, which is handy. And slowly we will introduce these sort of dialogues that actually give you more information about what's happening in lots of different areas of the software. It's imported the data. Now it's importing the images and matching them. It will be setting poses and setting the primary image at the same time. I have one more example to show you because I worked through lots of different examples of the different things it could do, but you could do all of that in one text file. And I'll just show you how, or an example of that. And then we're done. We'll take questions and then we're done. I could probably, since we got 60% to go, Mark, are there any quick questions I can answer in the remaining time that this is importing?
No, they're not.
Oh, there you go. It must be easy. Or the questions may be complicated and I need more time.
Oh, no, they're coming in now.
Okay.
Can you show an example of order imports?
Yeah, if I've got the text file.
And what is the limit to the number of saved imports?
I'd have to check with Peter, but I do believe it's either 14 or 16. Now you can
Why
do
only
more
that
than
many?
that. Pardon?
Why only that many?
Are you really going to have more than 16 different structures?
Well, if you do folders and job and different things differently, yeah, you might.
Well, if you're going to have, so I've already done plenty, and that's, I think, more than most people will have, right? And that's 8. I'm halfway. We can increase it. That's not a big deal. If we find that people need more, but I do stress it's within your advantage, to your advantage to try and standardize as much as possible. But yeah, look, we can add more. At the moment, I think it's 16. And it is per computer. It is per computer, I'll stress that. The saving, the remembering happens per computer. So if I go to a different computer and import that same text file, it won't know about it. Okay, so
it's in the registry.
Well, yes. This one's finished, so we got the images imported. See, some of them we set backgrounds for. Some of them, well, I think all of them we set poses for, and some we set primary images and some we didn't. I think only the first one I set the primary image. So importing images, nothing's changed there, really. Just you map it in a different way. Let me start a new one and I'll have a look if I've got a text file with orders. I think I might. Node details, Control T. That's very remiss of me to not have one with orders. And I'm sure I had. what I'll do, I'm sure I had, it's just not in that folder. Rather than waste your time going hunting for it, what I'll do is when this one will go on YouTube, I'll append it. When I do the editing for the YouTube version, I'll append importing the order. You will notice that, yeah, this is a different sports shoot altogether, but it has remembered the mapping because the structure of the field file is the same as one that I had imported earlier. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea of importing the order information, okay, if you've got the orders in a particular field, and I'm annoyed I don't have it. One to show you, but anyway, check the order, okay? And then just as in the old subject import window, you've got the option of the old format or the layout, for example. That could be A for package A. Is the column an item? Whatever the item is, are we ordering for a pose? Are we ordering copies? So you've just got that order option. That's the equivalent of ticking the order box, import order box in the old method, and then the four things you can map. Let me just quickly check one more file. Order information here. Where'd it go? I must have deleted it. I'm sorry, guys, but I will, like I said, append it to the version that ends up on YouTube. But it's pretty easy. I mean, if you've imported order information in the old method, it's pretty much the same thing. Tick that box, which was in a different spot in the old window, and then map your fields for layout, map your fields for item, and so forth. There was one other example I wanted to show you because it talks to different things a little bit, is you can combine. If we have a look at this text file, it's combining stuff. So we've got the subject information. Then at the same time, we're going to be importing folder information. Now, and at the same time, family information. You may already know this, and if not, there is a knowledge-based document, but how will it know that row 64 through to 67 is actually folder information, and we want to import folder fields? If the name entity, so in this case, the last name, becomes folder, then it knows that you're importing folder information. If the last name or if the name is family, then it knows that you're importing family information, not subject information. So that's a shortcut. And also, if this is a new one, if the name of the row, the last name, resolves to job, it knows you're importing job information. So that's one way to, in a text file, combine subject information with folder information, family information, and even job information by thinking about what's in that last name field. If the last name is folder, it knows it's folder fields. If it's family, it knows it's family data. If it's job, it knows it's job data. But the field you get from the school may not have any of that in there. It may be something else in there, or it may be even in a different language. It may, say famille instead of family if it's French. There is another way of doing it. You can come down the bottom here. You're not going to be in here often, but it's there and it's powerful for people who want to use it. You can say a row is a family if a certain column, I don't know, family, is not empty, for example, or it contains whatever information, or is blank, or always. And same with folder. You can tell it a row is folder information if a certain field is not blank or contains information. A bit more advanced here, and we will probably go into this in more detail at the training seminar rather than get bogged down in a webinar. The easiest thing is if you use this rule, putting job, family, or folder in the last name field. And then it knows that that row is folder, family, or job information. If that doesn't work for you, you've got the power of setting the row element type down the bottom here. So that done, let me do this. First name, subject field, ID. See, I'm saying the last name field is subject data. That's true. But when it comes to a last name whose name is family or folder or job, it will behave differently. It will flip it to family, folder, or job data, even though I've mapped it as subject. That's the power of putting that that data in those fields, family, folder, those keywords in those fields. Homeroom, we will make that the folder in this case. And do we have any others? Oh yeah, so grade, we'll make that subject data. Folder tag is folder data and its tag. Family is the family name, so it's family data is the family name. School name is job data, and we do have a field called school name. Principal is job data. We don't have that field. No, we don't. So I'll add it as we go. And I rushed through that a bit, so I hope I didn't make a mistake, but let's hit OK. It seemed to have worked. We have got our folders. We brought in the families. We got the families correct. We've got the folders, including the tags. So the tags came in. And we've got the job information. We did that. We did all those things in one text file. And stay tuned. I will add order information for the final edit of this webinar. You don't, obviously, not everyone's going to use all those things, but I showed you all those things, so you've got them in your toolkit if and when you need them. I think the major benefit of this is seeing the data and remembering the mapping, to be honest. The rest is very handy, as is, of course, importing into family and folder fields, which you never was able to do before. That does it for me. Marcus?
Yes, there's just like one or two, and I think that they're so focused on one thing that you answering them in an email would be better. I don't think they're gonna.
Okay, so if they're off topic or not relevant,
yeah,
sure, probably better in an email.
So other than that, no.
Okay,
we're good.
We're good. All right, so a couple of things I wanted to remind people of. The training in Vegas, we've got, I think, 34 to 36 people already, which is gangbusters. Still plenty of time. Just remind you, because the earlier you book, the cheaper it is. If it's your experience is anything like ours, airfares just become eye-watering expensive when you do them late. And I don't know how many rooms we have left at the hotel, how many we've got there, but yeah, once you know you can come, please register and please try and come, because I think it'll be worth your while. We will be going over this again in more detail as per most of the things in 4.10. We'll do it slower, we'll do it with more examples, we'll be taking questions on the fly, you'll be sharing your workflow ideas, and then of course there'll be some other things in there which you haven't, at training, which you haven't seen yet. The other thing I want to mention, and something to keep planning, start planning for. A lot of people are still on MySQL version 5.6. You need to plan to get us to upgrade you to MySQL version 8. It is far superior, it is more efficient, it is faster. Now, how much of that you'll actually notice, that's arguable, but you should do it. You'll get a performance increase, and you'll get compatibility. We can't continue to keep supporting 5.6. So there may be some stuff that we do in future versions that in MySQL 5.6 it won't work. Oracle itself, or whoever owns MySQL now, no longer support 5.6. They no longer support 5.7 either. So start planning to do that maybe for North America when your spring season is finished between spring and fall. You'll probably need myself or Mark to jump on and do that upgrade for you. It's not insignificant. It will take a little bit of time, so we need to plan it. The other reason to go to 8 is that your websites, if you're using iOS, they're at the back end in the cloud are using MySQL 8. And again, it's just to make sure we stay compatible. It is better that everybody gets up to MySQL 8. That is all. So Mark, unless there's any last minute questions, I thank you, Mark, and thank you for your help over these last 6 webinars. Don't have any more scheduled. We will be working on other stuff, and if the need and opportunity arises for extra webinars, I'll let you know through the normal channels.
I have been getting some questions about the register button not showing up on people's forms.
Yeah, depends on your email client. If you're using an email client, it's because it's in a button that's green, and that button is sometimes not showing up, the green around it, and the text in the button where it says register is white. So you're seeing white on white, and therefore you're not seeing it. If you hover your mouse over where it should be, which is like in the middle of the section, you'll actually see it, your mouse, your cursor turn into a click. You can do that. Otherwise, just let us know and we'll send you the link in black text. Or rather than look at your email, say through a web client, if you look at it through Thunderbird or I think Outlook or any of these actual mail clients instead of your browser, you'll also see it there. But probably at the end of this month, I'll be sending a reminder. I'll probably do 2 reminders between now and then, and there'll be a new registration button in there, which I'll get rid of the fancy formatting, so it'll show everywhere.
Okay, and also, how do you know which version of MySQL they are on?
Ooh, can't remember if TS Portal tells you somewhere. Not easy for you guys to know, to be honest. Probably need us to jump on and check with just by running Workbench, and we'll know. Depends how.
Yeah, Workbench will tell you.
Workbench will tell you. You can go into your services and look at the MySQL service. The MySQL service is called MySQL 5.6 or MySQL 8, as the case may be. If we've installed Workbench for you, that'll tell you there. There's various places. If all of that is too hard, just let us know and we will jump on and have a quick look.
Yeah, because it doesn't, I mean, it's a service, it's running in the background.
Yeah.
No place do you launch it.
Correct. I mean, yeah, I can't think of anything within our software which tells you. It shouldn't need to. No, yeah.
No.
Okay.
So that's it.
That's it. Thanks, troops. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for your support, as always. And we will be in touch with news as we've got it. But of course, feel free to get in touch with us in the meantime. Until then, it's the famous bye for now.